The date is 2026-06-25. This is the executive lens. The biggest story today is the Senate's rejection of a war powers rebuke of President Trump, even after a sharp bipartisan clash over how far Congress can go in constraining U.S. action on Iran. The New York Times reports the Senate defeated the measure after an intense floor fight, underscoring that lawmakers remain deeply divided over the administration's Iran policy even after weeks of conflict and diplomacy. Al Jazeera reported that 4 Republicans crossed party lines to support the resolution, a sign that the issue is not breaking neatly along party lines. The practical effect is that the White House keeps its current room to maneuver, at least for now, while the broader constitutional fight over war powers remains unresolved.
The vote comes as the administration is still trying to manage the aftermath of the Iran conflict through diplomacy and deterrence. The New York Times also reported on President Trump's meeting with NATO Secretary General Mark Rutte at the White House, where Trump said he had, quote, great respect for Rutte, and added, quote, if anybody else were in that position, we wouldn't be here today. That meeting matters because it shows the administration is still working the alliance channel while trying to project control over the Iran file. Separately, the International Atomic Energy Agency chief said Iranian nuclear site inspections will happen, though the timing is, quote, not essential according to the reporting cited today. That suggests the inspection question remains alive, but not yet settled on a timetable. On the domestic policy front, the White House has sent Congress an $87.6 billion supplemental spending request, according to the Office of Management and Budget and reporting from the Washington Post and Business Standard. The package includes roughly $67 billion for defense needs linked to the Iran conflict, plus farm aid and Ebola response funding. That request now becomes a test of whether congressional Republicans will back the administration's broader national security spending, even as some fiscal conservatives remain skeptical.
Here is the story most people missed. Politico reports the White House's effort to extract revenue from 2 chip companies, Intel and Nvidia, has not produced any taxpayer return nearly a year later. The article says the administration has taken unusual interventionist steps in the private sector, but so far, those efforts have not yielded cash for the government. That is a notable contrast with the administration's public push to show that industrial policy can pay for itself. What to watch today? First, whether Senate leaders move quickly on any follow-up to the failed war powers vote. Second, whether the White House gives Congress more detail on the $87.6 billion supplemental and how much is tied specifically to defense replenishment. Third, whether the IAEA or Iranian officials provide any new timeline for inspections, since that remains a key indicator of whether the diplomatic track is stabilizing. That is the executive lens for 2026-06. Sources in the episode notes. Back to